Welcome back. In this video, we will discuss process improvement case study and will learn how it helps the organizations in effectively managing their businesses. This case study is about an organization named Data Stream Content Solutions (DSCS) that improved its organizational and software processes to gain a competitive advantage over the competitors and to manage the increasing workload. In 1999, Data Stream Content Solutions began providing a service that actually converts large data files from one format to another format. Some of their contracts require immediate data turnaround, for example, within 2 hours, while others require them to convert data at set intervals, for example, on monthly basis. From an initial staff of four, they have now grown to 28 and they plan to almost double in size over the next few years. As with many small companies, the founders were experts in their application domain, but with a little experience in computer or software technology and software engineering practices. From 1999 to year 2003, they expanded their business with a company president who actually was a marketing guy, and uh, uh, he used to provide the marketing support, and the chief programmer used to provide the programming and project management support. Uh, by early 2003, they realized that their company had grown too large to continue handling the new and growing business in this manner. So they both realized that they need to change their business model. But interestingly, each had a different reason for change. At DSCS, the president secured contracts and the chief programmer built each system. So each system had the same basic architecture, that is, reading in the textual data, errors checking, and then converting the data and writing out the text in new format. Once the programmer had written the program, it was given to an analyst whose job was to process each day's textual input and to produce the required output. So, an error during a day's run meant that either the input text or the software contained an error. The company actually used to handle each error the same way. If the input data was incorrect, the analyst would change it and continue processing. And if fixing the data did not work, the chief programmer had to fix and debug the source program. So, yeah, because some contracts require the company to process data by 7:30 each morning, so defects they were actually very stressful for the staff of the company. As I mentioned before, that both the president and chief programmer of the company realized the need for the change. The president actually wanted the organization to be compliant with CMM level 3. This way, new contracts might be available from customers who insisted on CMM level 3 from their supplier. So, such a rating seemed like a good discriminator for a small company in their marketplace, and of course, it could offer them better opportunities for seeking more business in future. On the other hand, the chief programmer saw a business with multiple independent systems. Each time a program failed, he had to modify and debug the program. He was an expert in the application domain, but was not well aware of the software engineering and development practices. The chief programmer saw himself as the potential single part of value. For example, when he learned about syntax processing, context-free grammars, and some programming tools such as Lex and EAC, he was amazed at how much easier and more uniform they could make text processing. Therefore, he believed that a process improvement approach should eliminate the multiple versions of software conversion tools that the company was developing since years and would actually simplify their development processes. Moreover, expertise in effort estimation were also needed at the time of like bidding the contracts or securing the new contracts because the company was lacking in this particular aspect as well. So expertise in such area could also help them accurately make estimations about their uh, future projects. Here we will discuss the measures taken to improve the business processes of the DSCS. The researchers at the University of Maryland, USA, analyzed the processes at DSCS and uh, observed three separate areas that the company needed to resolve to help themselves grow. In fact, all three were intermingled in the minds of the company staff, and separating them into distinct areas could help address their specific needs. The three areas included the system architecture, software architecture, and the development process. So let's discuss each of these areas one by one. The system architecture. DSCS needed to manage the data they processed. They needed centralized server to provide centralized data access, and they also needed to archive the files and institute a backup plan to ensure the integrity of their data and the programs. If a programmer made an incorrect change to a program, undoing the change and reverting to an earlier version was difficult as per their previous practices. Uh, so the company needed a flexible network to ensure that programmers and analysts could access the data from anywhere in the company and providing the support for managing the different versions of the programs. That was also important. So DSCS recognized the system architecture problem. So they hired a consultant to redesign their hardware architecture. Then software architecture. Most of the DSCS programs they actually had a similar function, that is converting the textual data. So the process improvement team saw that redesigning their software to use a common structure, for example, using React to parse the input data should help minimize their architecture and let programmers handle multiple programs more easily. They had already realized that some of their output formats were in XML, and that error checking all data and converting it first to XML would help create a single set of programs to produce their output formats. So during all this, how software requirement specifications, similarly design documents, and a software test plan can help them uh, develop new software, and like how configuration management practices could help them with version control, software changes, and file backup and archiving. The third area that was identified for improvement is the development process. The company needed a set of development practices that would make their activities more manageable, more visible, and understandable. In developing a plan for DSCS, the goal was to meet the corporate needs, and the two concepts that seemed more critical in this respect, they included conducting the formal reviews and developing the configuration management plans. So the researchers addressed, in fact, several key implementation factors. uh, we will discuss these factors one by one here. The first factor is recognition of the key aspects. The company management understood the differences among system architecture, software architecture, and supporting organizational and development processes. Once these differences were understood by the company administration, DSCS started making the real progress. Then the second factor is commitment of resources. Uh, the company made progress on developing practices and software process improvement after assigning a dedicated person to this effort who was neither the chief programmer nor the president. Then the next factor is establishing the process asset library. DSCS spent time and resources to create a process asset repository or library for organizational uh, project information. A web interface on the library makes it easier for end users to locate their desired information. Also, the library links they are provided in different work products, and now it is relatively easy to access any required document or artifact that is needed to the development, that is needed to the employees of the organization. Similarly, it was recommended to perform the periodic reviews, define the organizational terminologies, and also suggestions related to various other factors such as like managing the workflows, particularly management of unplanned work were given that DSCS agreed to do. So the organization now understands that it needs to address the system architecture, software architecture, and issues related to the development process if they are to grow successfully. So their revised goal is to have new development process in place so that they can fully realize the gains in the coming years. They're beginning to rewrite existing programs to use a common software architecture as well. So mainly two types of success factors were identified here for DSCS. These include process-related factors and organizational factors. By process-related, we mean that like it was to for DSCS, it was to implement a set of software engineering best practices. And for organizational factors, the company was suggested to define the goals, and accordingly, they defined their goals. So these goals, in fact, the first of these goals was to improve the company's ability to accurately forecast software development projects, costs, and schedules. The second goal was to improve the company's ability to reduce the software development time to market. And the third goal was to improve the company's ability to achieve competitive uh, edge quality, and the fourth goal was to achieve CMM level 3 on a fast track through following some templates. Similarly, through train the trainer materials, uh, through access to experts and various other resources. So here we are heading towards drawing the conclusions. The company's leaders now realize that because the company is too large for one manager to handle all the activities and affairs. Therefore, they must delegate tasks. That is, they must assign responsibilities to other employees of the organization as well. Moreover, all three separate distinct areas, that is the system architecture, software architecture, and development process must work in harmony to support the corporate goals collectively. Since providing process structure and the ability to understand, manage, and measure development risks has a cost. Um, uh, and DSCS leaders are willing to spend funds to achieve those goals, which is an indicator of their trust in the uh, uh, process improvement practices. Also, DSCS has established repeatable processes that more than one person knows. So now all employees clearly understand their roles and their job descriptions. This way, DSCS is able to create software more quickly and cost effectively. So that's all about this case study. I hope you will this case study will help you in understanding how important it is for the organizations to invest their resources in process management and improvement practices. This case study was conducted by Kathleen Coleman Dangle and co-authors, and uh, this was published with the title Software Process Improvement in Small Organizations, a Case Study in IEEE Software Magazine. For more details, you can access this article. Thank you.